Treasurer Josh Frydenberg is with me live from Canberra. Thanks for your time, Treasurer.
Nice to be with you.
There are 12,900,000 Australians in the workforce, and the Prime Minister today said that this JobKeeper allowance will go to about 6 million people. Does that mean that the government thinks that half of all Australians are set to lose their jobs?
No, what it means is that people will either be stood down or continue to work, and that their employers will be eligible for this particular scheme. What we've tried to do here, Leigh, is to reduce the cost to businesses of employing people so that more people stay in a job, but also to ensure there's a formal connection between employers and employees, because we know there's going to be a recovery phase after the coronavirus, and if we have that formal connection maintained, then the recovery will be a lot quicker and easier.
As of 7 p.m, more than 30,000 people had already registered for this, but employees won't get their money for about 4 weeks or so. What do they do in the interim?
Well, they need to talk to their employers to make sure that their employer sees themselves as eligible for this particular scheme and is reaching out to the ATO to register for it. And as you say, there's been very high demand already.
But what about that interim period?
But what the employers will do is reach out to their banks, knowing that they will have this confirmed money flow coming from the tax office, namely from the government, and then that will give them the ability to pay their employees.
Why did you settle on the $1,500 a fortnight amount?
Well, that's around 70% of the median wage, but importantly in the sectors that have been hit hardest by the coronavirus, namely the retail sector, the tourism sector, the hospitality sector, this $1,500 a fortnight could be about 100% of the median wage, in fact a replacement wage for many. So this is a very much an Australian scheme, not a UK or a New Zealand scheme, a flat payment, an equal payment regardless of what people earn, and I think that's very much an Australian way to go.
This applies to full-time, part-time and casual workers who've been with an employer for more than 12 months. But a lot of casual workers do short-term gig-to-gig work. We heard Sally McManus, the union boss, raise concerns about that before. What is their best option here?
Well, we've adopted this particular definition of a casual who's been with the employer for 12 months because that's also reflected in the Fair Work Act. But there will be casuals who are not eligible for the JobKeeper supplement. So what they will do is go onto the Job Seeker supplement, which is available to them at $550 on top of the old New Start or Job Seeker payment as well. And that is a considerable amount of support at a very difficult time, and as you know, it was effectively a doubling of what was previously available for people who had lost their job.
We saw those big queues at Centrelink last week. Has the ATO been resourced so that we're not going to have the same sort of bottleneck for people now?
Well, the Prime Minister and I and the Finance Minister sat down last night with the Commissioner of Taxation, and he gave us those reassurances that they're well resourced and ready to implement this scheme as necessary. And as you know, they're a formidable organisation, and as employers go on to the ato.gov.au website, they can register their interest, and then that will be processed accordingly.
You said today that to qualify, businesses would have had to have lost 30% of their turnover. Over what time frame do they have to demonstrate that?
That's over a 1 month period compared to the previous year, and of course that would reflect the challenges that those businesses or sole traders are encountering as a result of the coronavirus. For businesses with a turnover of more than $1 billion, Leigh, they have to show that their turnover has fallen by 50% or more, so there's a higher threshold for those larger businesses.
This is a very complex plan, and I cannot ask every question that every person at home would want me to ask about their individual circumstances. How do people get detailed information?
Well, you can already, as an employer, register on the ATO website, but also the Treasury website, treasury.gov.au, has fact sheets available both for employees as well as employers, and more information will be provided every day.
The government also announced today a change to the foreign investment rules to prevent takeovers of struggling businesses on the grounds of protecting assets of strategic importance. From which countries are you trying to protect Australian businesses?
Well, this is all about preserving the national interest, and it's not directed at a particular country. But what we have seen is a number of companies being in a distressed state. Their market valuations have fallen dramatically, so the old thresholds don't really apply in this situation. So what we are ensuring is that every foreign investment proposal has a ruler run over it, has more scrutiny, and of course, as the decision maker, I will take that job very seriously and take into account the character of the investor, tax and competition issues, as well, of course, national security issues.
Does that mean that you would be unlikely to allow, for example, takeovers of energy companies, telcos, agricultural businesses?
Well, again, I'll run the ruler over every proposal, but rest assured, the government believes that foreign investment is in Australia's national interest. 1 in 10 Australian workers work for a business that has benefited directly from foreign investment. And indeed, just last year, the United States was our number one foreign investor with about $58 billion of investment. China was number 5 with $13 billion of investment. So we really do need to focus on the wide range of investors in this country who are not just Chinese.
One last question. This is a staggering amount of money that you've announced to spend over the past few weeks. Yeah. Has any thought yet been given as to how Australia will ultimately pay for this, or is that to be worked out down the track?
Well, this will be paid back for years to come. There's no secret in that. And, of course, we'll enter into discussions with the credit rating agencies over due course. But Australia has entered into this crisis from a position of economic strength. Our debt to GDP ratio is around 20%, Leigh. That's a quarter of what it is in the United Kingdom and in the United States, and about 1/7 of what it is in Japan. So that's given us the fiscal flexibility to respond. And we have delivered the first balanced budget in 11 years. That's been really important in allowing us to provide this level of support at a time of critical need.
Do you have a bit more sympathy for Labor during the GFC and the fact that a stimulus package was necessary?
Look, I'm not looking backwards, I'm looking forwards, and I know that today's measures will be of great relief to millions of Australians. This is a Team Australia moment. I'm working very closely with the Labor states as well as the Liberal states with our discussions at Treasury level. The Prime Minister leading the National Cabinet has worked very effectively together. Politics, it plays a very distant second, third or fourth to what is really the focus for all of us right now, which is to get Australians to the other side of this health and economic crisis.
Treasurer, thank you very much.
Good to be with you.
Hi, I'm Leigh Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.